How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Riley's Red Zone, and in today's video we're going to go over each Week 13 NFL game. I'm going to give my picks for I think who will win, and we also once again have a guest picker. So let's start by quickly recapping what happened last week. Last week was able to bounce back to form a little bit. I ended up going 11-5, and our guest picker Danny was able to break 500, reaching that 500 mark. And you can see the standings so far on the season for the guest pickers up here. So overall, I'm now 112-68, and underdog picks, I'm 20-41. I took a lot of them last week, didn't quite get the majority of those. This week, we got a couple of those still here that we'll see how those go. And this week's guest picker is yet again another guy who has been a multiple-time grocery games judge and chef. He's an Eagles fan, for what that's worth. We're bringing in Carson this week to make his selection. So he's got his picks to me, and we're going to go over both mine and his picks in this video. So let's just get started by talking about this Thursday night game, the Cowboys and the Seahawks, which is, I'd say, a pretty good Thursday night matchup compared to some of them that we have had before. Now, it is a decent spread right now as well. It's currently 9 points are the Cowboys. They have that advantage in the betting right now. They are favored by 9 points. The Cowboys looked so good last week against the Commanders, and they, in their most dominant performances, maybe look like the best team in the league. But the Seahawks have at times won some games, but I think they've been struggling as of late. They just can't seem to get anything going. There's not a real bright spot. To me right now, nothing is not like one unit is carrying what they have. They're just kind of there, which is, I could see them ending up about 500 the way they're playing right now. So I'm going to go with Dallas and that defense that is playing very well. But Carson does have an upset pick here. He's got the Seahawks in a potential upset, which could happen as a shocker on Thursday night. Thursday nights have been crazy in the past while, so that anything could happen. They could really shock the standings with that one and probably really give Philly the advantage in the East for the NFC. Now, the Colts and the Titans, this is one where two teams pick up a nice win last week. Colts keep winning, even though I don't really know how. Like, looking at their roster and everything, you think they'd just be all right, but they keep moving the ball with. Now, of course, Jonathan Taylor just got surgery, so he's going to be out. So they're going back to Zach Moss, which they still were able to win with early in the season. They still have Minshew that they're moving the ball. But the Titans are another team that was on a losing kind of spurt for a while, but then they play the Panthers, so you get a nice get-back game there. And so Will Levis might be coming back to form. I am going to take the 2-point underdog in this matchup in the Tennessee Titans, as I think Levis has a good game. I think Moss, well, more so Taylor being out, will just downgrade. Moss is still a fine player, but I think that Jonathan Taylor being out will be a downgrade for the Colts. I also just think that, this division game might get split for the series. And I'll tell you, last week I just went straight up by like a formula on how to pick the games with what I was doing, and it did give me a decent result, but there's still some that broke that. So I'm still going to take a chance here. This is one where in my power rankings it doesn't make sense to do this, but I'm going to go with the Titans because I think they can split this division game. I do think the injury to Taylor is significant, and they have a great opportunity to bounce back here. But Carson is going with the Colts, who is the favorite. That easily could be what happens, as they are projected to win there by 2 points. Should be a nail-biter, I'm thinking, in that one, either direction. And now the Chargers and the Patriots. The Patriots finally, were favored again in a game last week against the Giants. And if they had an opportunity to win, and I said it last week, it was going to be that game. And they were not able to deliver. Quarterback situation's rocky. And just the whole kind of thing is a kind of train wreck right now. And the Chargers, at the same time, didn't look good last week either. Of course, they played the Ravens, which is a tough team, but they also just have not been able to close out games for anything this season. They just lose all the close ones. And this is another one where either team, this is your prime opportunity to pick up a win. I'm going to say the Chargers get it done. I could easily see this being a type of game that Bill Belichick and the Patriots secure a win, and then you really got to think about getting rid of Staley at that point. To me, if you lose this game, this is a make or break game for him. But I think the Chargers have enough offensively that they'll be able to put up enough points and get that victory, and then, the Patriots keep going up the draft standings. Carson's also going to go with the Chargers in that matchup. 6 points is an interesting spread for a team that, hasn't really shown they can close out games, but then again, they're playing a team that has not closed out games either. The Broncos and the Texans, two teams that I'd say are riding some of the most momentum right now in the league. Now, of course, the Texans just did lose, but it was a close one. Literally about as close as you can get with that field goal. But they still this season are just really on fire, and Stroud is playing like an MVP on a week-to-week basis. And the Broncos, Russ is starting to cook right now. They have, I believe, the longest win streak in the NFL right now. And this is such a tough game to call, for sure, because both teams are just playing really well. This is one where you don't think either team deserves a losing week right now, the way that they are playing. But going purely off of my rankings, and they're at home, which, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I will sometimes pick a home team if they're ranked lower. I'm going to go with Houston here. In a team, this one might be the hardest game, in my opinion, to pick this week, as it's two teams that are really, really on fire, and they both are moving the ball offensively. I think Stroud is going to step up in this game once again and just perform well. But I think it's going to be whose defense steps up, really, to me. And so right now I'm thinking D'Amico Ryans will instill some hope in that kind of defense and just team overall more than what I'm getting right now from the Broncos defense, but they are still doing very, very well. It's so close. Two great teams. I'm going to go with the Texans. So is Carson. That one's going to be a great game to watch. 3.5-point favorites for the Texans is interesting. I would think it would only been like 3, because this is a great game to watch. Dolphins, Commanders. I just can't really, at this point, at some point, the Commanders with Howell at least were like a up-down type of thing, where your highs were going to get there and then your lows are going to be down here. But now it's just been mostly lows as of late. And the Dolphins are moving really, really well. They have speed. I just don't know if there's anyone on this Commanders defense that can hang with the Dolphins speed-wise, especially when their best corners like St. Juste are more physical guys. They don't really have Forbes out there. It's just going to be, I think, on paper, this should be a Dolphins win for sure. So I'm going to go that direction. 9.5-point favorites. Carson is also going to go with the Dolphins. I just don't see a reason to pick the Commanders right now at this moment. Let's see if Sam Howell, though, can prove us wrong. Falcons, Jets. This is one where I'm going to kind of break off course here. The Falcons, to me, are the most inconsistent team maybe I've seen this season. I mean, every week, it's whether they use Bijan Robinson or not. And their offense just seems to be either on or off. Their defense with Jesse Bates has been delivering. This may be my most bold pick of the week, but the Jets, who absolutely struggled last week, didn't do anything. They just can't move the football. They can't move the football right now. It didn't matter if it was Wilson. They're going with Boyle again, which I think is interesting. But I am going to say this. This one doesn't make a ton of sense, but to get all the picks right, I'm going to go for the home run. This is my sneaky upset of the week. I'm going to take the Jets. I believe their offense would be better with Trevor Siemian than Tim Boyle, in my opinion. I would not be surprised to see that switch by the end of the game. They are going to start with Boyle, though. But I think if there's a team that they could upset at home, the Falcons just haven't been consistent enough to me. It's whether they use Bijan or not. That's really what it's going to come down to. So I'm going to take the 2.5-point underdog here, or 3 points, depending on what it is here. I'm going to take the Jets, which I know is an absolute bold decision. Carson's going with the Falcons, which might be the logical decision here. But I'm going to take a couple swings at the board that some upsets happen, because we know they're going to occur. It's just going to be picking the right ones. Detroit and New Orleans. Detroit, of course, has the kind of shocking slip against Green Bay last week, which certainly was detrimental to their season. But at the same time, they still have a great lead in the division. They're still playing good football. They kept it at least semi-close. They could try to fight back. I'm kind of upset I didn't take that upset last week. I mentioned it specifically. That was a trap game. I think this is a get-back game for the Lions. The Saints, I just haven't seen anything from them in a long time for me. And I'm surprised it's still only 4 points, even though the Lions did lose last week. I just have to go with the Lions right now. I think they'll get a little bit more on the bounce back here for a few weeks, get some wins. But that should be an interesting one. It's 4-point favorites of the Lions. Carson's going to go with the Lions also. I just think that they are the better team overall. That one is why I'm going to go that direction. And Cardinals Steelers, I picked the Cardinals maybe all 3 weeks that Kyler's been healthy, and he got done like one of the weeks. And so that is something where the Steelers now used to be a team that couldn't move the ball, but now with Canada gone last week, they put up 400 yards for like the first time in years, and they can move the football, it seems, again. And so if they can move the football, the Steelers are going to be a dangerous team because they have a star defense. I can't pick Kyler 4 weeks in a row and only turn out that one of them was right. I just have to go with the 5.5-point favorites here, the Steelers. I think they just are the better football team, and the Cardinals. Kyler is playing well to me, but it's just not, the team is not there enough to get wins. So I'm going to go with the Steelers in that one. So is Carson. And the Panthers versus the Bucks. You just can't really pick the Panthers right now, although I will say, interim head coach, this would be the game that you could do it. I mean, we've seen it multiple times that it's always when that new coach comes in, it can happen. We had it with Antonio Pierce this year. We had it with Jeff Saturday last year. It's just something that when you make that switch. But this, I don't get the same vibe where you kind of get rid of all the issues. This I just think is a worse roster than some of those other examples have been. And so I can't really take the Panthers in any circumstance here, in my opinion. I'm going to go with the Bucks, who might try to stay in this division race somehow, potentially that they could. I think this is their best opportunity to get back with the Saints and the Falcons. So I'll go with the Bucks. Always sneaky with the interim head coach, but so is Carson going with that as well. And now the 49ers and Eagles, I have to say, this is a crazy one because the Niners at their best maybe look like them and the Cowboys might be some of the best teams in football. The Eagles, although they maybe don't win convincingly every time until the last minute, they are winning football games. And at home, it's hard to play in Philly. They are winning their games this season, and this is one where I think if it's a playoff, I'm easily taking Philadelphia. Here, I think about it a little bit, but I think it is truly the home field advantage. I think that the Niners have looked good at times, but they also, aren't unstoppable. The Eagles, to me, aren't winning as convincing enough as you think they would for their record, but they just get it done. They don't have a weakness on that roster. I think the Eagles have the best roster in the NFL by far. The 49ers are 2.5 to 3-point favorites, which I find on the road, which I find very, very interesting. I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one. So is Carson, which is technically an underdog pick. That doesn't feel right to me, but then again, Vegas always knows something I don't. So that is an interesting one. I just don't know if I've seen the Niners get it done in Philly in a while. And so I think that I'm going to go with the Eagles here. Just that home field is a difference maker. Browns, Rams. This one where even with the quarterback situation, I would have thought the Browns are the favorite, but the Rams are the favorite by 4 points, or 3.5, which is significant. The Browns' defense is still phenomenal, but of course it comes down to that quarterback position. Dealing with the injury to Watson, you got DTR right now. They have Flacco in the back pocket if you need as well, and PJ Walker still there too. Their defense is so good, but I'll tell you what, the Rams have been pretty sneaky as of late. This is one where I just feel that there's a potential upset brewing here. At home, the Rams, Sean McVay has been coaching a solid game. Once Stafford got back, they've been all right. We just needed Stafford back in the lineup, and they've been all right. And so I'm going to take the Rams in this one. I just think the quarterback situation is still going to be getting figured out in Cleveland. So I'll take the Rams in this one. Carson is going to go with the Browns, which is an upset pick from him. And so we each have 3 upset picks for this week. And so that one should be a good one. But let's talk about the Chiefs and the Packers. The Packers are on the come up. They are absolutely playing their best football right now, which is what you need to be doing. They rattled off a few wins in the last while. Jordan Love playing solid. I just think the Chiefs are a really, really good football team that I can't pick against. And so I'll take the Chiefs in this one, but the Packers are playing really, really well, and they might, even if they drop this game, be able to play themselves into a playoff position, especially with the way the Vikings are playing at that 7th seed. So I'll take the Chiefs. I think they just have a better team overall, but Jordan Love has been playing great late. And so Carson goes with the Chiefs as well. That one, just feel I have to go with the 6.5-point favorite, but that one could be sneaky if Jordan Love comes to play. And last but not least here, we have the Bengals and the Jaguars. I think this would have been a phenomenal game with Joe Burrow. Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence. That would have been a great game to watch. But here, I thought Jake Browning could get it done last week against the Steelers. They were not able to do it quite, so they didn't get that win. So it's clear they're not quite that same team without Joe Burrow. So I need to go with the Jaguars. They pull off a squeaker of a win last week by that, the field goal that missed this much from Houston. But they overall are still playing really, really good football this season. And so I think they're the better team, especially without Burrow here. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars. So is Carson. So those are the picks for this week. Thank you very much for sticking around at this point in the video. I can't believe how far we are in the season. This is unbelievable. We're getting towards the end already. But with that being said, I greatly appreciate you watching this video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.